Good morning, world. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way TheFlyBoyway. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. And welcome back to the Black Man's Guide to World Travel. In this episode, we will be talking about the great city of Medellin, Colombia.
Medellin.
Medellin.
Medellin, mi amor. Medellin.
Okay, that's right. Medellin. Now, before we start this guide, let me give you this disclaimer. The Black Man's Guide to World Travel is based on experiences that I had as I travel around the world. It doesn't mean that the experiences are going to be factual based on your experiences, but they are factual based on my experiences. Now, with that said, let's get into the Black Man's Guide to Medellin, Colombia. In this guide, we are going to discuss flights, activities, accommodations, currency, nightlife, and women. Now, as I do in all of my previous guides, I'm going to give you a point on the screen right now in which we're going to start talking about the women of Medellin, Colombia. And it's going to be very, very detailed. So if you're a woman or a man who doesn't want to hear that part, you should definitely stop the video at the time that I'm pointing to right now on the screen. When it comes to flights, I booked 2 one-way trips out of Miami going to Medellin and out of Medellin going back to Miami International Airport. The total cost of this round trip ticket was $275, and that included my bags. Now, when I went in October of 2021, there was no need to take a COVID test before you entered the country. There also was no need to be vaccinated before you entered the country either. So you may want to check online to see what the requirements are at the time before you go. The only requirement was that you, 1, have a mask on when you're traveling on the airport, and 2, within 48 hours of your flight, you needed to go to the Colombian Embassy website and fill out a MIG form. Since we are talking about flights as well, you want to make sure that you have a place in Colombia that you will go to get your COVID test to return back into the United States. This is almost as important as booking your ticket there, because if you get there and you either don't plan for it with the money, or you don't plan by looking for a place where you can go get your COVID test done, you may be quite disappointed when you realize you cannot get back into the United States of America. The next part we're going to discuss is accommodations. Now, most tourists stay in the El Poblado area. However, you can also stay in the Sabaneta area, the Laureles area, or the Envigado area. Those areas are pretty much close to where everyone goes in El Poblado. For my experience, I decided to stay in the El Poblado area, but I chose 2 different Airbnbs because I wanted to give the feel of going as a 9-to-5 worker who travels the world and as a more affluent guy who has a little money to pay. Now, if you haven't seen the videos I dropped before this Black Man's Guide, you should probably go back and watch those first, because you will get to see that I spent a lot of time doing different activities, going out, different bars, and bar hopping pretty much. So it wouldn't be the typical thing that someone who's just going to experience it was. It was someone who's going to make the Black Man's Guide to Medellin. So I spent between $3,000 and $3,500 during the whole course of my trip. The first Airbnb I stayed at was in the El Poblado area, about 4 blocks away from the notorious Parque Lleras. And for those that don't know about El Poblado, there are a lot of hills. So if you're not good with walking up and down hills, you may want to consider staying in the Laureles area, which is more flat. Now, the place that I stayed cost $75 a night, and I stayed there for the first 5 nights of my trip. This place was pretty cool because the security guard was cool, the area was more relaxing, and it was a lot more comfortable bringing company in. The second Airbnb I stayed at was right in the center of the action in Parque Lleras at Europa Suites. Now this, I'd say, is the closest thing to 5-star I've seen. But it's also the closest thing to 5-star prices you will find in the area. The cost per night was $215 for a 2-bedroom. Now, when you start to see the bedroom and see the apartment, which I'll play in the background, you will kind of understand why it was $215 a night. It had consisted of marble floors, stainless steel appliances, a jacuzzi in one room, and a view of Parque Lleras with an automatic blind switch in the other room. So this was something amazing. Now, me personally, I like the first apartment better because of the comfortability, and if I'm going to stay a longer period of time, I would stay there. But the good thing about Europa Suites is that they actually do the COVID test for you to get back to the United States in the hotel. And that made this the perfect place to stay my last 2 nights in Medellin, Colombia. When it comes to activities, even though you can negotiate a better price once you arrive in Medellin, Colombia, I felt it more important to have your plans put down in action before you touch down in Medellin. So what I did was I went to Airbnb experiences and I booked different activities. Now, all of my activities I did not book through Airbnb experiences because my friend DJ Chisel had been to Medellin plenty of times before and was able to connect with other people. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you a list of all of the activities we did. And in the description of this video, you will have the individual links or Instagrams or phone numbers or WhatsApp numbers to the people who you can connect to and who can help you book the activities if you like the ones that I show you in my video. During this 7-day stay, we went to Guadalupe, we did an ATV tour, we went to a soccer game in Medellin, we went to Comuna 13, and we climbed the mountain at El Peñón. Now, one thing you may consider if you're staying there for longer than a week and you don't want to go out to eat every day is getting a chef. I was able to find a chef. Shout out to Chef Emily. I'm going to put all her details in the description so you can call her on WhatsApp and schedule something, or you can get her to send you food through Rappi. One thing I realized is that after a certain time in Medellin, there aren't many stores that serve real quality food open. So it would make sense sometimes to maybe get about 3 or 4 pre-made meals that you can just heat up. Because when you come in from the club at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, unless you want to eat taco express, which is still good, you're not going to have a big selection unless you like street meat. So I would suggest if you're staying there for a longer period than a week, definitely consider getting a chef. And if you need one, like I said, Emilia's contact information will be in the description. Now, when it comes to nightlife and nightlife activities, I decided to do something different from what I kept seeing all over the internet. I decided to step outside of the Parque Lleras area. Okay, so in Laureles, there is a place called La Setenta. And what La Setenta is a street with a lot of different bars, restaurants, and nightclubs on the same street. And this street stretches about 2 to 5 miles long. So it's a pretty long street. Now, when you go to La Setenta, there are going to be all different type of restaurants and bars. There's going to be Mexican, there's going to be Colombian, there's going to be Afro-Colombian, and there's going to be a lot of great restaurants there. Now, what I'll do is I will play the video in the background where you guys can actually see some of the bars, restaurants, and nightclubs that I went to on La Setenta, because the pronunciation of them are pretty hard and I don't want to mess up on this one. Also, I will say this. During Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, there are not going to be a lot of people anywhere in any of the places that you go. And from my experience, I would suggest going to La Setenta because you could go there as a date, maybe you bring company, or you may actually be able to find someone, a worker that works at one of the bars, or a regular, local that is just trying to hang out after work and be able to vibe out with them on a less touristy type feel. During the week also, if you're more of a late night person, there is a place called Itagüí. And in Itagüí, there is a club called Seven. And Seven nightclub is open starting at 12 a.m. and closes at 7 a.m. on the weekends. During the week, it closes at 5. But if you get there around 3 o'clock, you can pretty much find a chill vibe to maybe, if you're not tired and you don't want to go in yet because you're enjoying your trip to Medellin, I would suggest going to 7. But just make sure that you have your phone charged, because the taxi cabs may try to overcharge you when you're trying to get back to your Airbnb in El Poblado. Another place outside of the Parque Lleras area is Sabaneta. Now, Sabaneta is a little more south than Itagüí and Larelas, and it's a little further away from El Poblado, but it's still a very safe neighborhood with locals, and there is a place called Parque Sabaneta. Now, when I went to Parque Sabaneta, there was actually a festival called Festival of Los Platanos, and it was completely packed. But from what I hear from locals, Parque Sabaneta is very much the spot to go to every weekend, because there are always vendors there. There is always music being played, and there is always a vibe of different local people. So if you're trying to get out the more touristy area of El Poblado and Parque Lleras, Sabaneta is a good choice as well, especially on like a Thursday night, Friday night, or Saturday night. And finally, the third option for nightlife, which will lead us into the woman part of the Black Man's Guide to Medellin, is Parque Lleras. Now, Parque Lleras is located in El Poblado, and Parque Lleras is the place that majority of people already know and visit when they visit Medellin. The reason this is because Parque Lleras is basically a spot where there are tons of different clubs, different varieties of people, different types of music, different types of food, all in the same area. And Parque Lleras makes it easy for you to go to a place and have everything you want. There are places like Miami, Gustos, Morena, Lleras Park, and so many other places that you would think wouldn't be packed if other places in Parque Lleras is packed. But when I tell you that when Parque Lleras is packed, every single bar has maximum capacity people in it when it's not raining. It is an amazing sight. I mean, the streets are packed. The vibe is good, and you can find anything, literally anyone you want in Parque Lleras. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the women of Medellin, Colombia. For this part of the guide, we will discuss the two different types of women in Medellin, Colombia, the pros and the non-pros. But before we get into the first part, which will be the non-pro part, I'm going to bring a friend along to explain.
So, what's that, guys? Just let me tell you something. Here in Medellin, you can pay for a woman's time. That's legal.
All right, thanks, man. So now let's get into the non-pro part of the guide to Medellin. If you do not speak Spanish, you can still meet non-pros, whether you use Tinder, Colombian Cupid, or Bumble, or you can meet non-pros in person. Now, here's the issue. If you do not speak any Spanish, there is a chance that the women who are non-pros may still ask you for money for their time, because you have to think of it along the lines of this. If you're not willing to learn someone's culture, then they're not being able to reciprocate getting anything from you if they're giving something to you. So they're going to most likely try to ask for some money for their time. However, if you speak a little bit of Spanish, and I do mean a little bit of Spanish, more than hello and how are you doing, but rather how old are you, what do you do for a living, just simple conversation like that, you can take that so much further. If you're looking to go places where you're more likely to meet non-pros, then you want to go places where locals are normally at. Parque Sabaneta is a good place to go. La Setenta is a good place to go. And even if you're in El Poblado, there is different places in Provincia which are good to go where you can meet locals in bars that may not be as known, such as Super 8 or the House Casa Bar. But if you go to the main bars in El Poblado, in Parque Lleras, like Gusto's or maybe Miami, then you may come across a lot of pros. And if you're looking for non-pros, that wouldn't be the place that you want to go. Now, Bumble is pretty good, but it takes a while because you have to wait till somebody responds to you before you respond to them. And Colombian Cupid costs money. But Tinder works amazingly. And yes, a lot of people will say that, well, there's so many pros on Tinder. Yes, but there are also so many non-pros on Tinder. There's probably more non-pros on Tinder than pros. The issue, once again, becomes whether or not you speak the language or are trying to learn the culture. Like, once you show a woman that you're only there for a short time and you're not trying to learn the culture, she's automatically going to put you in the bag where she's asking for something. But when you actually show a little bit, or even if you're trying to learn, you don't have to be fluent, but you're trying to learn, on Tinder, you'll find some of the most amazing women. If you haven't seen my videos on that were from the Medellin journey, then you definitely want to go back there and you see some of my experiences. Hey yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way, all platforms. I know y'all looking like, hey yo, what is Flyboy doing? I know there's another part to these videos. Yes, but unfortunately I had to put them behind the paywall because my #1 video, The Black Man's Got to Cartagena, was taken off. And you guys know when I like to tell a story, I like to tell a story the way it is. I don't like to hold stuff back that others may find offensive. And unfortunately, we cannot do that anymore on most platforms. So until I create my website, I had to put all of the rest of the guides that you're going to see in the full version behind the membership. Eventually, I will create a website, and it will be free just for the guides. I have about 12 different guides right now, or 15 different guides right now. I don't know, a lot. So you can subscribe to the membership. I made it only $5 because I think that stops it from being a major issue with YouTube. It's, I guess, something that we kind of worked out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope this helped you. That's the reason why I made these videos PG and put them back on for the whole public to see, because I think with information comes safety. And if you get the information, it can help you stay safe when you travel the world. It's your boy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's THEFLYBOYWAY. Don't ask why, just check out the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.